Namo Buddhaya. Namo Karmaya. Namo Sanghaya. Om Tare Tu Tare. Om Tare Tu Tare. Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare. Om Tare Tu Tare. Tu Tare. Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Om Tare. Tu Tare. Tu Tare. Om Tare. Om Tare. Tu Tare. Tu Tare. Ture Soha. 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 Om Tare. Om Tare. Tu Tare. Tu Tare. Om Tare. Om Tare. Tu Tare. Tu Tare. Ture Soha. 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 Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, I go for refuge to the three jewels. I will attain enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Om Tare. Tu Tare. Tu Tare. Om Tare. Tu Tare. Tu Tare.
Ture Soha. Hello, everyone. Wow. Oh, so nice to see all your smiling faces. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Such an incredible day and so precious that we can come together. So that was some pictures. I don't know what happened to the slideshow. I had everything going one right after the other, and then somehow they got all mixed up, but they were still beautiful. So beautiful to watch each Tara being born and knowing all these beautiful people, these beautiful women, and knowing the courage that it takes to live their life, just like me, like each one of us, the incredible challenges of every day and doing our best to keep loving and keep strong and keep positive. So some of the things that I wanted to share with you, it's been quite a month once again. Uh, Fortunately, I wasn't traveling this month. That was really, really nice. I must say, I finally found some stability inside my body. That's really helpful and is very encouraging. Um, and many different pieces of inspiration have come my way. It's been an interesting journey being up here by myself because Miri's now in Brazil and traveling in South America, and Josh and David are both off in Louisiana having their adventure with friends and family. And so, and it's been really wonderful, actually. I must say, I do enjoy the hermit life of just listening in more closely to what's going on and also just enjoying the moment. It's so incredible. The weather has been outrageous. I don't know about you folks, but one minute it's pouring rain and the next minute it's raging wind and then the next minute it's blazing sun, and there's no place to really settle in and say this is the way it is. That of course makes things rather tricky when it comes to organizing travel, because previously I organized my travel according to good weather times. Now we have no idea what that means. So on with the show. Okay, well, I have gathered all kinds of interesting notes and interesting things that were inspiring me. One piece, I'm just going to pull them out one at a time and see what I'll let them show me. So the first one here is Anatomy of an Illness as perceived by a patient. This fellow, this was Norman Cousins. I don't know if any of you have heard or remember Norman Cousins. Yeah, okay. Well, Norman Cousins, it became quite a thing because he healed himself, um, perhaps not 100%, but I think it was almost 85% when he wrote his book about healing himself. And he healed himself through laughter and through positive affirmations. He did this constantly and consistently. The other thing that he did, which I didn't know, I'd heard about the healing through laughter business, but he also used high doses of vitamin C. So it was interesting to know that he had a physical thing as well as an emotional thing that he was working with. But I think the quote that really interested me, he said, "A highly developed purpose and a will to live are the prime raw materials of building a positive human existence." So this, I think, it's right down our alley. Of course, I always appreciate when the universe feeds back to us the power of the practice that we're engaged in, because we start with our prayer of motivation. Why are we here? And to answer in the way that we do, we're here to manifest our inner wisdom, to radiate our loving compassion, and to gather skill so that we can bless and empower others. These three things are, if we continue to turn towards them during our times of difficulty, and remember, yes, this is a difficult situation. How can I use it to stimulate my inner wisdom? How can I use it? How does it force me to understand my inner wisdom? How does it force me to understand the importance of radiating loving compassion into the world? And how can I become skillful? Here's my big chance, because without an opportunity, we cannot experience, we cannot explore our creativity, our ability to meet a situation or a moment or a person or whatever it is. How can we be creative? Because one of the things that kept playing in my mind as I reflected on what what my Dharma rant was going to be about, was the way when we view a situation, we have parameters, and it actually turns out, it ends up being like a box. We box ourselves in. We've decided how we're going to feel about things. Well, if this happens, I'm going to feel this way, and if this happens, I'm going to feel this way, and if this happens, I'm going to feel that way. And then we have already created a circumstance for us to feel something, when in fact there is flexibility in every moment. In every moment, instead of doing whatever we thought we were going to do, we can actually call forth creativity and humor, which are two of the things that in everything that I was reading this past month continually popped up, is to have a good sense of humor about yourself, but also about the people around you. You don't have to laugh at them, but you can certainly laugh inside yourself to realize, here is me. This is me. I'm looking at myself. Oh, it looks like someone needs to come into, there we go. Okay, thanks. Somebody was sitting in the waiting room. We didn't want her to just sit there, particularly since it was Miri, all the way from Brazil, so it's late for her. Anyway, parameters, boxes, boxing ourselves in by our concepts of the way things should be. So even though several of the things that I was reading were talking about creative, positive circumstances, projecting in front of you what you want, driving towards the goal, this is wonderful. And yet, too often, this driving towards the goal, we put a box around the goal and said, this is what it's supposed to look like. Well, very often, that's not what it looks like. The request that we have when we pray, what are we doing? Of course, we're appealing to whatever sources of refuge, whatever connections we've made. But the strongest appeal is within ourselves. We are demanding our inner guidance, our own wisdom mind, to reveal its truth and to help us to engage in the situation from the highest possible octave, and not from some restricted condition that has developed over the course of previous time, of previous activity. Now, this was the last book that I was looking at that really amazed me, that it came my way. I have friends who, they send me fun things, kitty pictures. I love kitty pictures, and little stories, and, just things they'd think I was. And I have one woman who sends me a series of photographs and inspirational this and that every day. Well, this one really, really blew my mind. Actually, she sent a couple that just went, wow. But this one, I loved this quote. It's a group called Heart Mind. Yeah, Heart Mind. These are scientists. Okay, so we're talking about highly educated, highly trained scientists. And their statement, they work with trauma. Okay, so we call it now post-stress syndrome, right? Something like that. Okay, and this is their work, and how to disarm the trauma of veterans, because most of their people are veterans, but it's not only. There's many forms of trauma. Emotional knockdown dragouts are traumatic experiences. When I was in a very emotional relationship, so that every few days I could be sure there was going to be a screaming match going on, I found nothing was more exhausting. I could go out and work in the garden and run my lawnmower up and down the hills for hours and not be half as exhausted as I would find myself after a confrontational encounter. And post-traumatic stress syndrome, there it is. I knew at some point it would float to the surface. PTSD. And so at one point, my acupuncturist said to me, reading your pulses, you're having a panic attack. I went, oh, you got to be kidding me? A panic attack? That's ridiculous. But then when he described what was going on, I realized it's true. These emotional confrontations are so stressful that just anticipating that it's going to happen caused me to have a panic attack. And so that was helpful. It was helpful because it pointed out to me, you got to do something about this. This is endangering your health. Obviously, I came to him because I thought I don't remember what it was, a liver problem or some kind of, I don't remember what the physicality of it was. And he said, that's not the issue. He said, this is all emotional. If you can stop these stressful encounters, you're going to stop having this problem. He said, you don't need medicine. You don't need needles. He said, although the needles can help you emotionally, it'll help you balance a little bit. But you have to take it serious that you are stressing yourself out, and you have to really make yourself important and make it important to deal with this. So anyway, this statement, they start with self-induced. Now, right away, I'm on the floor laughing. Self-induced. This is like, okay, self-induced what, medication? Yeah, self-induced positive emotions. Just those words alone, think about it, because very often when I will say to someone who, I have students that they call me when they're really, really depressed and they really, really need help. Otherwise, I could not hear from them for a few hours, for a few years. But when the depression button hits, fortunately, they know enough to call me. Because, okay, I can tell them, no, you have to think positive thoughts. But are you kidding? This is hard. Why is it hard? It's hard because we haven't practiced, we haven't developed the capacity. We haven't made it our fall to. This, when I think about the conditions of my life and the various stressful situations and so forth, and as my personal situation has cumulatively become easier and easier. The reason is because it is a constant, for me, it is a constant effort that I make to stay positive. No matter what's going on, who's going on, Trump and his shenanigans, it doesn't matter what's going on, my effort is to put a positive spin on it. Because self-induced positive emotions, now here, let me finish this thing because it's really hysterical, increase the coherence in bodily processes, okay? So that means the whole body is paying attention when you are focusing on positive emotions. But it's the same thing with negative emotions. The whole body is paying attention. So according to, this is another paper that I was reading by Wayne Dyer, according to the scientists, our emotional states, they secrete or they stimulate various hormones and all different kinds of physical circumstances that are completely different. So the hormones that are released by negative thought are totally different than the hormones that are released by positive thinking and by the messages that the whole body gets, which is why we need to learn how to self-induce. I love that term. It's so medical. It's so it is so not wah-wah. It is so to the point. It's something we are doing to ourselves to recognize. Now, this was the other thing that Cousins said a lot about in his book, which was that ultimately healing is within. We are our own doctors. And one of the problems in our culture is that we invest the concept of healing a condition within our body mind in something external to ourselves, like a doctor. Now, a doctor doesn't have all that much experience. Many times, so many of my friends go to doctors with a condition, and the doctor has no idea what is going on. And then they try things out. Well, let's try this medicine, or let's try that medicine, or let's do this procedure or that procedure. It's really cute. I see Sherry nodding her head because she's in the medical field. So she's really familiar with this one, right? Because of course, we have to decide. This is what Cousins said again and again in his book. Our drive to live well, we have to stay with that and use it, because that is what is going to heal us, is our own inner drive to get well, because it is going to tell us. The doctor said to Cousins, well, you're not going to live much longer than a couple of months. So you can come in the hospital and we're going to do all these things to you. And at first he went in the hospital. And then he said, this isn't working. I'm just getting worse. I'm getting worse and worse. So I need to try something else. Fortunately, he had a doctor who said, go ahead, nothing's going to hurt. According to our understanding of your condition, you're going to die within a couple of months. So do whatever you want. You want to take massive doses of vitamin C, do it. So he moved into a hotel because he said he was so irritated constantly, he could never rest in the hospital. He was always being, somebody was coming in to do something to him or for him or whatever. So he moves into a hotel and he has his family, their whole job was to go out looking for movies that were comedies, and they were to take them home and look at them and decide which was the best. And in fact, he actually started, once he recovered, and he is a doctor and he was working with other patients, he used this exact same prescription, which I think is great. So take it to heart. Because his family was all worried. What are we going to do? He's, this is a terrible situation. What can we do? And so he said, well, go to the library or go online now. When he was doing this, there was no online. Go online and find things that really make you laugh and send them to me. Bring them to me. Make each person responsible to bring at least one thing a week. So in that way, the family was also engaged in uplifting their spirits and finding a way to see life as it's a big joke in so many ways. In so many ways, we take ourselves so seriously. And then when we get past our incident, whatever it is, when we get past the circumstances that's stimulating us and making us crazy or violent or unhappy or depressed or whatever, and we look back at it, we almost can't even remember what it was like, because now we're in a whole different space. A friend that a student actually who was depressed asked me, what do I do? I said, wait a second. It's terrible. It's just, I'm never going to get out of this. And I went, wait a second. Didn't I hear the same story from you a year ago? You were depressed, right? Yes, I was depressed. I said, and I told you to do a few different things, right? Yes, you did. And you did them, yes. And you got out of your depression, yes. So I said, so you know that you can get out of this. How can you even begin to say that you can't get out of it? This is that negative thing that we've established because of whatever it is that we're afraid of. So this is what we need to examine and take apart. Now, the heart-mind scientists discovered a very wonderful practice that is just like our practices, but just a little bit different. So I want to sort of lead you through this just so you can get a little experience, right? So I want you to place your hands on your heart. Place your hands on your heart and just think about a really joyful moment, as recent as possible. You know, it could be sitting having a cup of coffee with your friends, and they say something funny and you start laughing. Think of a moment when you really were just utterly and absolutely delighted. Now hold that image in your heart and breathe in the radiance of the universe. And then breathe out any negativity while you keep this warmth in your heart. Breathe out any physical tension. Just gently breathe. You don't have to contrive your breath. With the inhale, you see radiant light entering you, coming into your heart, and you feel it connecting with that delightful, playful, sweet moment. And then exhale any physical tension. Just feel your letting go of tension in your shoulders, letting go of tension in your chest, letting go of tension in your face. Just keep breathing in radiant light, letting it come down to your heart, warming your heart, and then breathing out any tension that exists in the body. Just, for a moment, sweep through the body with an exhale, a let go. So inhale, light. Exhale, let go. Do this for a few moments. Now on the exhale, tell yourself, let go of all emotional tension. At the same time, keep letting go of physical tension. Let go of all mental tension. Now open your eyes and just feel the change. Just feel how in a few moments everything changes because you've let go of tension. And here's the other piece of this quote that I think is so remarkable. This process of encouraging positive thought, because really that's what we were doing. We were grasping onto something that really delighted us, that was really positive, and increasing our presence there, holding that in our heart. This is reflected in the pattern of the heart's rhythm, which plays an important role in facilitating higher cognitive functions. It creates emotional stability and facilitates states of calm. This establishes an inner baseline, a memory, an implicit memory that organizes perception, feelings, and behavior. If we don't establish this baseline, then we're stuck. Then it's PTSD. Then the whole thing just keeps replaying. If that's what's going on, we must actively engage in establishing positive, here we go, self-induced positive emotions. Because that will shift the baseline so that the whole body-mind, when a point of stimulus arises, it goes there. It doesn't go to the experience, the traumatic experience. Even should the traumatic experience arise, there is a baseline that you are aware of. So we don't get stuck in familiar, unhealthy, emotional, behavioral patterns. Because if we do, we continue to live our life in these traumatic experiences. Often, friends who, similar to me, have a tendency to have very intense anger, to be able to really explode in a situation. I have to say to them, because, they ask, what did you do? Because we don't see this behavior on you anymore. We don't see this. What happened? What changed? Well, for me, there were two things. One was developing my relationship with Tara, because through the practice of Tara, and of course, we're all very familiar with this, through the practice of Tara, we are able to really have a sense of our own dignity, our own value, our own worth. And first of all, just the fact that we've attracted someone like her into our life as our buddy, our friend, our teacher, our guide, that right there says something about, well, there must be something right I'm doing because I have attracted her into my life. Don't take for granted that emotion. That's a very good, powerful emotion, to value that you have established this relationship. Also, if you look around our beautiful, I'm looking at all of my beautiful friends here, all of my delightful beings. If I look at everyone, as you can as well, you are again reminded, wow, I must have done something right to end up in this community of lovers, in this community of hearts. How incredible. Maybe I may not be living next door to them, but look at, they're right there, right in front of me on this screen. And I can feel their love. I can feel their desire, their motivation to wake up and be free from these syndromes of living in past trauma. So this is a value. This is of great value. And it's not that complicated. The mantra alone will continue to remind you that you have this relationship and that you have these qualities within yourself, that this is the relationship that tells you again and again, you can do this. This is what establishes our positive impressions. You can do this. You can do this. But I can see there's another well, and then the other one. Okay, the other one was the four immeasurables. Before I get too far lost in this other paper is sort of twinkling at me. The four immeasurables. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Whenever you get into a situation with another human being, and this is even watching Trump on television, or any of our politicians that are displaying such juvenile behavior. Instead of becoming negative and wishing them harm, may all beings have happiness in the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering in the causes of suffering. May all beings dwell in bliss, free from all suffering. May all beings dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and free from aversion. This is a standard prayer. It worked for me. You can make your own prayer, but whatever you do, get it in there. When you see your mind starting to go, oh, the world is falling apart, and my family is a mess, and my husband is a mess, and everything is a mess, and immediately invoke Tara and start chanting whatever it is. If you want to write your own prayer, but this one, it works. May all be, just even the first line, because a lot of times I wouldn't get beyond that. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Just that alone, to really wish people well, to know how difficult it is to live as a human being on this planet. So now I want to tell you a story. I can see that Barbara is here. So she's heard this story because she was there when it happened. our dear Tara sister, Ari, whom you saw dancing in the beginning in our 11, 11, 11, yes, is Tara number 21. Anyway, dear Ari, we were talking about the mind. Actually, I'm going to back up a little bit because this is another book that I was playing with in preparation for meeting you, beautiful beings, called Joyful Wisdom by Mingyur Rinpoche. And again, you know, he's that fellow who took off on that journey to try to see what it was like to be a wandering yogi and almost died. But tremendous amounts of mind training, fantastic mind training. And one of the very interesting things about him is that as a child, he suffered from so much anxiety, he could barely talk. He thought for sure there's no way I will ever be able to accomplish anything spiritually. So this is really good for us to know that here we've got somebody who's born into privilege because he was born to one of the greatest yogis of our time, Urgen Tuku, who had all the possibilities. He had good food, he had a good place to live, he had friends, he had respect, he had everything, and still he was just bathed in this horrible anxiety. And just went off on this path of self-discovery, and through the practice has broken free. And so one of the things, and I thought this was really quite interesting, was he was talking to one of his teachers about how horrible, how can he do this? Because the sensation, the overwhelming sensation of pain and so forth, and disorientation and anxiety was so overwhelming. How could he do anything? He was just a poor, stupid kid, and he would never be able to accomplish anything. Because look, he can't do this. He sits down to meditate, and all he can see is his paranoia. And his teacher, of course, as every good Tibetan teacher that I've ever encountered says, good, good, very good. So the kid's going, what's good about this? My mind is so overwhelming. And he said, yeah, it's your mind. Look at the power of your mind. Look how the power of your mind possesses you. Be grateful. He said, your problem, it's not your mind. It's that you haven't learned how to control your mind. Your mind is a gift. And the fact that you are experiencing such violent emotion, he said, shows us that you are awake and alert to your feelings. The only thing you haven't learned how to do is how to control that. You haven't learned. And he said, and all these practices that we are presenting in front of you, this is how you control the mind. So then, okay, this leads me to this story, because you know I love telling stories. And this is not mine. This story has to do with Ari. Now, I had mentioned, you know, that the mind was, you know, when I was in California, I trained a little red roan Appaloosa stallion. And I'd never had anything to do with horses. And so it taught me a lot about the power that one could have over what seemed to be something way bigger than you. And so Ari said that she had a similar experience when she was a young woman, or she might have been probably a teenager, working with horses. And her guide was a very, very famous stuntman. And he was given a beautiful Arabian stallion. And this Arabian stallion had a really, really bad habit. When he would start, he would have this bone-crushing gait. And it was very difficult and very uncomfortable. And so he said, this is what you do. He said, Ari, you know, you're gonna train this horse to get out of this habit. And the way he did it was, he said, have him back up first. So that'll stop the behavior. Now, I'm thinking, of course, our whole conversation is about the mind right now. So, okay, back up. We take a step back. We take a step inside ourselves. This is where any amount of breathing, count to 10 if you have to, but when the violent emotion starts to arise, back up, hold the position, say what you want, and then attempt it. So she said eventually the horse was broken of its habit and became a fantastic riding horse. But it took time. So this is a message that we all have to get, because all of us are engaged in this journey and we've all applied these teachings again and again. It's not like it's anything that I'm saying is anything new. Of course, by having your attention this way and by a group concentration, we are definitely opening certain pathways inside of ourselves. This is the value of these kinds of meetings, is that the pathways, we are re-establishing neural pathways that will be with us. So we back up inside ourselves when the violence arises, the sense that the paranoia, whatever it is. We disengage, so we can do that with the breath. And then we assert what we want to accomplish in the most positive way possible. Continual reinforcement of our positive direction. Is it easy? No. I don't know a magic fix, but I do know that we asked His Holiness the Dalai Lama the same question. This was Anahata. She said her question for him, we all had option to ask him questions. Well, we all, her and me. And her question was, how do you do it? How do you continue to call the Chinese brother and sister, my brothers and sisters? How is it that you can speak with them with so much care? And he said, practice. So it simply is encouraging us to recognize that, okay, so we blow it. We make mistakes. We hurt others. We hurt ourselves. That's fine. Pull it back. Take a few steps back. Reaffirm what it is that we want to accomplish. This is where our prayers are helpful. This is why I encourage, if the prayers that I've written or that we've got from these other masters, if they don't do it for you, write your own prayer so that you are with all of your heart. Because with my heart, I said, I want to manifest this wisdom. I want to live a life of loving compassion. I want to be skillful. I want to be powerful, because I want to be able to affect everyone who comes near me and bless them and help them and encourage them and empower them. That's what I want. What do you want? What do you want? I want to bless the world. Recently, Miri encouraged me to develop a little sort of refuge ritual that we were doing when we were traveling throughout the States and Brazil. And in this ritual, it's, of course, you know, Tara has made a commitment. Her commitment, her forward motion. What she said is, the end of time, call on me. Just call my name. I'm always present. Call my name. Now, what occurs to me is when I was a child, it was the same thing with Mother Mary. We were taught, doesn't matter what the problem is, just call her. Learn how to turn, because she represents that healing part of yourself, that wisdom part of yourself. She represents your wisdom. It's not like she's doing the job. All she's doing is stimulating what's within you. Make it a habit to do that. Make it a habit. This is one of the reasons why we accumulate 1 million mantras. Not because it's a magic number or any of those things. It's because by the fact of keeping that mantra going, we're definitely going to mind wander. We're going to think all kinds of things. but we're constantly going to be pulled back to that sensation of the beads going between our fingers and the chanting going. And it will remind us again and again, what is it that we are here to accomplish in this planet? What are we trying to accomplish? Here we've got these beautiful tools. How can we accomplish them? Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I have all kinds of fun things here, and as usual, I've barely gotten through any of it. But, oh yes, I wanted to share with you. Yes. Okay, so one of the things that this, which of course is just reinforcing what I just said, but it's coming from a different direction. Have any of you heard of a fellow named Napoleon Hill? Napoleon Hill was famous for writing a book called Think and Grow Rich. And he was hired by some of the big wigs in New York. This was during, I guess it was around the turn of the century, of the 20s perhaps, 20s and 30s, to write a book, to interview successful men, because at that time we didn't have successful women in business, right? So interview successful men to find out what they thought was the reason why they succeeded. And so it's so fascinating. But Napoleon Hill, he put his own spin on the whole thing. And so I don't know who he was talking to or what he was talking to, but his conclusion was this: the wise know the truth. In helping others, we help ourselves. In hurting others, we hurt ourselves. Character is more important than money, and trust more important than fame. Honesty is the best policy. Now, this is this rich guy telling us how to be rich, which is really, it's charming. And then he has all of these sort of aphorisms. Don't quit. You're going to fall down again and again. So what? Get up and reframe. This was the one where it really gave me the picture of the box. Reframe the whole picture. Don't just do the same thing that you did, because you might fall down again. It's just the crack is there. You step in the crack, you fall down. Don't do it the same way. If you can still go the same direction, but reframe the issue. It's really intelligent. And then persist, because don't give up. Don't feel that, oh, I can't do this. This is very common in spiritual practice, because we think we have these preconceived ideas about what it means to be a spiritual being. But really, ultimately, it's someone who lives with the understanding of infinite oneness, infinite openness, infinite interconnectedness, and who engages in such a way that the compassion is a natural radiance, no matter what the circumstance. You see every person for where they are and what's going on, and your desire, your effort is to engage as open-heartedly as you possibly can. And then, but the one I think that here it is. So he says, if you master these things, if you truly, and basically he's laying out the 6 perfections, you know, generosity, skillful means, patience, perseverance, being able to meditate. He even talks about meditation, being able to meditate. When those things are in place, insight is going to arise. But he calls it this, which I thought was just so hysterical. I loved it. When all of these things are in place, then the 6th sense presents itself. The 6th sense is that part of the subconscious mind which is our creative imagination. It is the receiving through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind. We call these hunches or inspirations. It defies description. It cannot be described to a person who has not mastered the principles. So someone who does not respect generosity, skillful means, patience, there's no way that you can engage the sixth sense with them. It's not a reality because they are here in a dog-eat-dog world. Anyway, he goes on to say, after you have mastered the principles, there is a truth that I know is going to sound incredible. Through the aid of the sixth sense, you will be warned of impending dangers in time to avoid them, and notified of opportunities in time to embrace them. And there comes to your aid and to do your bidding with the development of the sixth sense, a guardian angel who will open to you at all times the door to the temple of wisdom. And there's our girl Tara. Isn't that beautiful? It's so beautiful. From Napoleon Hill, it's the last place I expected to find a statement like that. Just to know that we do have resources. We have resources that we can call upon. Okay, so before I get into the news, are there any questions? Is there anything that you would like me? I've got a couple more minutes to my Dharma rant. If there's any question that you have, please wave your hand and Joshua will unmute you. Anything you want to talk about? Anybody who has a commentary on what I just said? Someone who has a little story that they can share themselves? No, I just see staring at the screen there. Okay, well then we're going to go on to news. Let's see, where's my news? I just finished that this morning. Oh gosh, I didn't even get into Annie Trime. Oh goodness. Plant seeds in your mind, she says, and watch them grow. Okay, here we go. Here's our news. So, the first bit of news that I have is to say that Miriangela Navis is still alive and well, despite the fact that she did go to Chile, and it was a violent time in the city. It was very sad. Everyone was really unhappy. The government had not been fulfilling the needs of the people, and the people became violent, unfortunately. And so this was, we didn't know whether she would be safe, but everyone determined, there were only 2 people who canceled, everyone determined that they were going to go. And so she successfully pulled off a fabulous retreat in Chile. I think there were 30 people, am I correct, Miri? You can nod your head yes. Yeah? Okay, yes. Anyway, they had a wonderful retreat and are talking about doing another retreat next year, maybe even with me. Maybe you want to come to Chile. That might be fun. They're very dedicated, the Chilenos. Okay, and then the next weekend, we had 3 mandalas turning. I don't know if you saw the web page that I put together. I know that Josh was putting it up on Facebook and other social media. So on the one hand, we had Miri in Guarapari, and then we had the group Janice and Suki and some of the New Yorkers over in Vermont, and then we had Parvati and her beautiful group in Phoenix. All 3 of them dancing, offering the mandala on that weekend, which was really so precious to think about. For me, it's a great fulfillment. It's what I've always imagined happening, is that our circles would become big enough, we'd have enough people here and there and everywhere, that we could have multiple circles going throughout the world, so that our energy, we're these incredible fountains of energy that we're radiating out. So just imagine these 3 fountains of light meeting, so beautiful, surrounding the world with their love and their dedication. So, of course, in Phoenix, they had the wonderful musical support of Shivadam and one of his friends, a drummer. And all of that inspired Amber, our dear Amber from Woodstock, right, to start gathering musicians. So she and some of her musicians from Woodstock drove over to Vermont and provided live music for some of the preliminary practices. But they're determined to have a live band for us when we go to New York, because we are planning to do a retreat in New York in Wappinger Falls. It's an incredibly beautiful monastery. Beautiful monastery. Lama Norla gave it to Tai Sita Rinpoche, so it's one of Tai Sita Rinpoche's monasteries. So it's big Maitreya Buddha, the Buddha of loving kindness. And so I hope to see you guys there. That's sometime in June, I think. Yeah, so anyway, let's see, that was that. Now media is preparing to offer the dancing the faces of the enlightened feminine in Brasilia. So she's leading a group to do beautiful classical dances from the Odissi and the Charya traditions and the Prema tradition, and dancing in the masks. So I can see that Vesta is sitting with her there. Yeah, hi Vesta. So yeah, so that's very nice. They're starting to come. Okay, and then Costa Rica. So I understand that Amber's jetting down to Costa Rica to be with our dear Jasmine Judith, and then also Adrienne is going to be leading a weekend in Costa Rica. So that's pretty exciting. So for you snowbirds, I understand that the snow started early for you. So if you feel like sort of taking a breath, you can just sort of hop down there. Although I noticed we have a lot of Hawaiians online right now. It's kind of cute. Okay, then news. Anam Tupten has invited us to offer the dance to him once again in his beautiful little Dakini retreat space in Port Richmond. And so that's going to be in March, the 8th, 9th, somewhere around there. It's I'll have that up on the I thought I wrote down. Yeah, here it is. Saturday, March 7th is the workshop, and then March 8th we'll offer. And I'm going to concentrate on red Tara and calling Tara from the heart. So that will be in March if you want to tootle on over. Unfortunately, Miri is going to be in Brazil. So this means I really need to learn the red Tara dance so I can really teach it. But I'm much stronger than I was when I went to Kauai, much stronger. So I should be able to pull this off. Should be able to. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, and then, so after that, I have an invitation to teach in Gainesville, Florida. And that hasn't sorted itself out yet. But then I'm going to fly from Orlando to Brasilia. And once in Brasilia, we're going to do a weekend in Fortaleza, and a weekend in Floripa, and then a full moon offering in Brasilia, and then a weekend in Natal, and another full moon in Brasilia, and then we're going to do the retreat in May, 21 through 30th, and we will be working, we'll do some work with the masks for sure at that retreat, and most likely the offering will be in the masks. Okay, and then Caxias, and big news. So Ecuador is really, really happening. So if you folks want to think about coming with us to play in Ecuador, it's so beautiful what we've got arranged, some hot pools and spas and beautiful, the Andes, we'll be traveling through the mountains and wonderful, and then we'll be dancing Tara in Cuenca. For those of you Hawaii girls, you probably remember Frisia. Actually, she was one of the dancers in the 1111. So it was really fun to see her. She was dancing Radiant Health. And she's so excited. She wants Tara to be a living presence in Ecuador. And then when I told her that I would be going to to Denver. Hello there, Gina. Gina has offered to organize something in Denver. So on the way back after New York, Miri and I will stop in Denver. And Frisia has many friends there. And so her whole family is there. So she's going to come and join us there too, which is pretty exciting. And then the last weekend of our tour, I'm not sure where we're going to go. We can go anywhere on the West Coast. I was thinking Portland, because it gives us a chance to touch base again with our beloved friends at the Dance Mandal, the Charya dancers. And since we'll be in the Bay Area in March, then it might be kind of fun. And then the last thing I have on my list, oh yes, those of you Kauai girls, I talked with Ayana, and it seems like there's a lot of excitement, at least from her side, of doing a mandala offering in Kauai, because we haven't offered a mandala dance in costumes, in saris, or in masks, because as it turns out, Miri and I will have the masks and the costumes with us. So that's possible. We might end up doing something. I said, as long as it's well air conditioned, I'm fine. No camping out at the beach or anywhere else where we're going to suffocate from the heat. Good air conditioning, you got me. So yeah, we can think about it. We were talking about Kokei as a possibility, and that's fine to put the mandala together, and then and coming into town somewhere to offer. But wherever we offer it, it has to be well air conditioned, because you can't wear those masks and costumes and overheat. That wouldn't work. Well, that's it. I did it. Wow. Oh my goodness. That's the news. So now, are you sure there are any questions or anything that you want to announce to the group, or anything you want to say? Gina. Okay, let's unmute you. No? Oh, you're waving. Oh gosh. Oh, look at that. My goodness, your daughter. Adelaide, hi.
Do you want to say hi? No, okay, she was just waving.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Okay, so we're going to unmute everybody. And let's do that, Josh. And we can talk to each other. And let's see. Yes.
Wow.
Okay. So, Miri, do you have anything you would like to say to our beautiful group?
I love everybody.
What are you talking about?
Yes, you love everybody. That's good. How about you, Barbara?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Is that Ari sitting next to you?
Hi.
Hi. Wow. What a surprise. Oh my goodness. Ari, why aren't you swimming? Usually the swim keeps you away from us.
Oh, she's here to help me.
Oh, I see.
Has manifested in my life to help me, and she's been showing up in beautiful ways. I've been having more Tara help, and yeah, after this we're gonna go downstairs, and she's gonna help me with my filing and bookkeeping stuff. So that's why she's
cool. That's right. Oh, how perfect. Wow, how adorable. And Julia, I see you're there in your store. How's it going?
It's going really good. All is well, and I'm loving doing the calling Tara from the heart. I've been doing that daily, and I hope I can join you in March at Anam's. And yeah, everything's going good. Yeah. It's quiet
wonderful.
life here. Yeah.
I know it's going to get quieter as the winter comes on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Neha from Swamp. How are you doing, kiddo? Hello. I see you. Yeah, you. Right. Say hi. Oh, she's shy. Hi, Hope.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Hi.
it's beautiful. And there's Rita and Jasmine and Noelle. Okay. Well, friends, I'm going to tune out. So thank you for making this a lovely meeting. I'm really so happy. Oh, and here's Parvati.
Ah,
I get to hug and kiss her on behalf of you all.
Yay, thank you.
That's sweet.
Okay, so I'm going to exit the meeting and you all can talk with each other. Josh, thank you so much for
Thank you,
all of your help
Josh.
and all. of
Yes,
this.
thank
And I
you.
hope you continue. So for
Thank you.
everybody, have a fabulous Thanksgiving. Really, I hope that you have a wonderful time with your sweet friends. And I look forward to our next connection. Bye for
Great.
now.
Bye. Love you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Love you.